How's it going, everyone? Welcome to TDA Recruiting's YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, subscribers, hit the notification bell. Be notified when we drop content on our YouTube channel. If you guys love our content, be sure to share it to your family and friends so we can build this TDA recruiting side of our business up as we will continue to shine a spotlight on the incredible high school football inside the state of Alabama. But the high school football playoff continues. We're in the fourth round. The semifinal round for each classification. The only classification is not playing this weekend in 7A because their championship is already set with Thompson set to take on Opelika in the state championship game. But when you take a look at these 1A through 6A, a lot of intriguing matchups that are coming up on this Friday, starting with the 1A classification. As always, I have my guy Dex Tolbert of Dex Preps, along with me, Larry Rudolph, one of our contributing reporters at Touchdown Alabama. Love to have these guys on because they are some of the biggest voices when it comes to Alabama high school football. But starting with the 1A classification, we have Watley at Addison. Then you have Leroy at Maplesville. Watley at Addison is an intriguing matchup. I think most people would think that Watley is the favorite in that matchup, but we'll see what Addison can do. Leroy and Maplesville will probably be the game of the week in that 1A classification because that is a game that we have talked about. Basically, we have been looking forward to this matchup throughout the playoff, hoping that we were going to see this. And this is the game that could go either way. You're looking at Maplesville, a team that hasn't given up a touchdown in several weeks, only giving up 4 touchdowns this entire season. Insane stat. So they have a lot of weapons on their offense that we've talked about previously. When you take a look at this weekend, Dex, how do you see this one going in terms of both of these matchups?
All right, I'm gonna start with Wally and Addison because I mean, with Wally, of course, you know the defending 1A state champion. You think of Jaquez Wilkes, Frisco, Robertson. Then you go to Addison. You know, people don't know a lot about Addison, but man, they built a solid year. I think they were 12-1, solid quarterback. Man, and honestly, man, just from what I'm reading, you know, Addison is actually a solid team. I think they score a lot of points. Defensive wise, I think they've given up a few, but at the same time, I think they score like 577 points or something like that, which is a school record for them. So, you know, I don't think Wiley should overlook them at all because you know you never know what can happen in the playoffs. So, I think that kind of happened to Wiley last week. They kind of underrated Hubbardville, and it was almost a perfect storm because Wiley was overconfident and Hubbard was actually a bit better than everybody thought they were going to be. So, it took them a half to adjust to that. So, I do think that Wiley should come out on top of that game. And of course, the game everybody wants to see is the game I hope to be at is Leroy and Maplesville. So with Leroy, they got you know a tradition down there, undefeated. Maplesville is undefeated. Maplesville has a lot of weapons on offense, defense. So uh, man, I think it's gonna be one of those games, like you said, a game of the week in Class 1A. Some people may feel like it's a state championship game, you know, in the South. So you know, but we'll see, you know, how that game goes. So so what do you guys think about that 1A matchup?
Man, I want to go for Leroy so bad. Those guys are traditional power. They get overlooked time to time by Jackson, who is like 15 to 20 minutes down the road. Those guys have a huge test. That Maplesville team is arguably probably everybody's favorite. Those guys are a special group led by star guys. Wiley did start off slow last week, guys, and I was a little worried at first. I was about to call Dix, say, "Hey, Dix, man, what's going on?" But they came back in a powerful way. Jacquez Wilkes is one of the top players in the state of Alabama. He's ridiculous. At this point, you can just give him the ball and let him run because we're in the playoffs. You know, you got to be able to run the ball. So yeah, man, I think we're headed for um a huge Wadley and Maplesville matchup, how everybody probably predicted. So uh, I'm excited to see how I go. I want to give Leroy a chance, guys, but I just can't against that Maplesville team.
Yeah, that's kind of like where I would lean to. I'll probably more so lean. I think you would more so lean that way too, Dex. More Maplesville and Watley, but you never know what could happen. We know Leroy is going to be tough. Leroy could beat Maplesville. That's definitely on the table. Leroy has a tough team. They're disciplined. They're very physical. Have a physical running back. They can pass the football. They can run the football. They're a balanced offense. Their defense plays as a unit. It's going to be a tough test for Maplesville. I think I give Maplesville is because of those weapons that we talked about. Nehemiah McCreary. When you take a look at their wide receiver, that wide receiver number 8 was really explosive. Cornerback number 17 who's really physical, nice size. The quarterback is really good. I think they have a sneaky good tight end. So I think Maplesville have a lot of weapons around them that should give them the edge in that matchup. But moving up to the 2A classification. We have Coosa Christian and Pisgah. I think Pisgah is a school, in my opinion, that has always been on the cusp of always making it, but they just haven't made it all the way yet. Could this be the year? It's gonna be tough with Coosa Christian. Real time Lynette, probably gonna be speeding the athletes all over that game. When you take a look at this 2A classification, Dex, I know you've seen Coosa Christian for sure, and you're familiar with these other programs. What do you think about this 2A classification? How do you see it going?
Man, I think with Coosa, man, I honestly just gonna be straight up. It's gonna be hard for anybody to beat Coosa. I mean, and I think Larry can attest to this. You know, they beat one of the 6A teams down from Larry's region, Blount County. So, I mean, that's a 2A school. They should have beat 6A Pale City. It starts with Kalen Johnson, a 4-star. I call him an athlete, but I think he's a 4-star cornerback. And I think the thing with Pisgah, man, is like I think Fife has always been a thorn in their side. So I think that's why we haven't really heard a lot about Pisgah as far as going to the state championships, because they've always had to go through Fife. So and so this year they was actually finally get over that hurdle. So I just think that Coosa Christians gonna be the class of 2A, but also in the south of 2A, you got Lynette and Reeltown. So and they played earlier this year. It was just like a 1-point victory, I think, for Reeltown. So and it's hard to beat a team twice in 1 year. So that's gonna be a very interesting game. And Justin, I think you mentioned like with Reeltown and Lynette, it's just always athletes all over the field. Lynette actually has a 27-28 lineman that I think has a Power 4 offer or FBS offer. He's a big old kid. I can't remember his name. So he could be one of those guys that makes his name. If they make it to the state championship, that the coach is going to find out about.
Yeah, man. Lynette really impressed me last week when they knocked off Laverne, who was favorites among a lot of people. I even had a couple of guys tell me that could be a game to watch. I'm with Dex on Coosa Christian. Kyron Johnson is a dog. He's a 28 kid. If I'm not mistaken, he a 28 kid. He can do it all. He's an animal. They did beat Blount. Blount beat St. Paul's, a traditional power down here. So that just goes to show you how like solid that Blount team is. Like that's not a bad team. So that's a great win for Coosa Christian, and they remain my favorite this whole time. But I know that Pisgah team is pretty good, but I expect them to be in the championship game. So yeah. And that Lynette team as well. Those guys are a strong bunch. I think you told us about that last week, Justin. I'm not mistaken. Those guys are not to be slept on, man. So I'm excited to see how that goes. But Coosa Christian, they remain my favorite.
Yeah, and I think Coosa Christian, probably Lynette is kind of like where I would lean to. Like I said, Lynette is a program that has been there before. Their experience, Reeltown as well. Reeltown is a team that has been there as well. That is kind of like Leroy Maplesville, Reeltown, Lynette. That can go either way. I think Coosa Christian will probably be the favorite. But Pisgah is, like I said, they always are in it. They're a tough team. They're going to compete. Like at this point, across any classification, any of these games could go either way. And the same thing could happen in 3A. I was going to bring in a guest for you guys on tonight, a guy who's going to be playing in one of the 3A games on this weekend. When you take a look at Piedmont, a great traditional power, and they're going to be taking on Mars Hill Bible, another great school inside our state when it comes to Alabama high school football. But when you take a look at this Piedmont team, is a talented team for a lot of different reasons. They have a lot of talented players. One of those players will be joining us here tonight, and Raleigh Pinto. How's it going, Raleigh?
Good, y'all can hear me?
Yeah, we
All right. Sounds good. I appreciate y'all for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. You guys have a great matchup coming up on this weekend, continuing to stay in the chase for the championship. Of course, in terms of you guys, as far as you guys' mindset heading into this matchup on the team, how would you describe that mindset in your mind?
I mean, we're playing the best of the best. We're playing the defending champs, and I think this is a game we've been waiting for. And I think we just got to go in there, knowing that we can win, and the confidence and the belief in our team, and just not pay attention to all the outside noise, because I think that's where you get in trouble. So I just think we need to stay locked in and stay confident with our team and just believe and we're capable of doing.
So let me ask this question, Raleigh. So as Piedmont, I know you guys powerhouse. So how does the Piedmont culture kind of factor into everything, like preparing for this game? it's kind of like Justin said, the mindset. I mean, like, could you go into a little more detail? Like, I mean, what is it like to play for Piedmont and prepare for this possible run for a state championship?
I mean, it means the world. Our coach always preaches. There's a standard here, and we won state championships. And I think growing up, seeing all of the people in front of us winning state championships, I think that gives us a mindset, that we're capable of doing it too. So I think every time we step on the field, we got the mindset that we're going to win, and every year we strive for a state championship. So, I mean, playing for Piedmont is like no other. I mean, just going out there on Friday nights in the Field of Champions, I just think it's one of the best atmospheres in the state. And I just think every time we step on that field, we just want to play like a champion at the end of the year, win a state championship.
Cool.
Hey,
Yes,
Roland, man, how you doing, man?
go ahead, Larry.
Good there.
Yeah, man, I got a question, man. So in the state of Alabama, we always hear Cedarian Morgan, we always hear Corey Barber, we always hear Deshaun Spencer, Zion Crumpton. Why should Roland Pinto be mentioned among those guys as well?
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to those players. I mean, those are the best of the best in the state, and they're just animals when they get on the field. You can just tell they're different for everybody else in the state. So, I mean, I want to give a shout out to them because they are really good players. And I just think I'm a competitor, and I think that helps with the school I go to. Is just instilling that in me, that I'm a competitor and that I'm a winner. And every time I step on the field, I'm going to give 100%. And that's really it. So.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this game this upcoming weekend, Raleigh. Good luck on this weekend, man. We've been a fan of your game, your dynamic. Like Larry said, you definitely belong in that conversation we said that multiple times our breakdowns of the playoffs this season, saying like, hey, he belongs in that top tier wide receivers inside the state of Alabama. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, man. Like I said, good luck on Friday.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
And
Hey, man, take care and good luck.
and like we said with so many of these different matchups when it comes to this weekend in terms of what we're looking at in terms of these games that are coming up. Of course, Raleigh's gonna be involved with the Mars Hill Bible Piedmont game, which we are gonna break down here for you guys. When we take a look at this matchup, this is an interesting matchup, like a lot of these other matchups that we have discussed here on this evening in terms of teams being powerhouses and having a tradition of having success. Piedmont and Mars Hill Bible are kind of, I almost want to say they're kind of like on the opposite end of the spectrum because Piedmont has been great for so long. They have been competitive for so long. A program that continues to, like Raleigh knows, continues to be in a position to win a state championship. Mars Hill Bible is a school that didn't have a football program, if I'm not mistaken, more than a decade ago. And now they have a football program. They've not only competed for state championships, they've actually won state championships. And not only won them, they won them in multiple classifications. So if I'm not sure, they're 1, 2, 3 as school continues to get better. Southside Selma, Bayside Academy. That is another intriguing matchup. And we've said this, man. Just looking at this 3A classification, these games are ridiculously good. Both of them are going to be ridiculously competitive and ridiculously entertaining. Just us projecting how they could play out. When you take a look at these two matchups, Dex, how do you see these two matchups going? Because they're going to be intriguing.
Man, of course, Southside Selma, they got the quarterback, the Moody kid, and like I say, I'm gonna let Larry have this a lot because he's seen both teams play. He's more familiar with the teams, but man, Southside Selma has a quarterback, the young quarterback, the 8th grader. I think he leads the nation in passing. And then you got Simmons, Cedric Simmons, has Auburn and North Carolina, Purdue offers, leads the state in receiving. Then they have Purdue commit tight end, the Towns kid. So he's 6'6", big old kid. So and then with Bayside, they're a traditional strong program as well. So I know they have the kid that's committed to Wake Forest. So like I said, I know Larry's a little bit more familiar with these teams than I am. So I'm gonna let Larry have the floor on this one right here.
Yeah, man. Cole Moody is starting to trend around the world. PDA was the first ones on that. He leads the nation in passing. He has his father as a head coach with him. They have turned that program around. Cedric Simmons leads the state of Alabama bro receiving. He has over 2,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, 99 catches. Amari Towns is ridiculous. He plays edge and wide receiver for the Panthers. And then on the Bayside, you got Barrett Trotter, who was a former Auburn QB turned head coach now at Bayside, and he has turned that program around. They're in the 4th round. I think the first time in a long time, if I'm not mistaken, Davis Barnett is among the top passers in 3A. I think he's top 10 in the whole state of Alabama. He has Noah Kane and David Lawrence as wide receivers. These guys are very nice and very sound. Monroe Parton is talking to Alabama for like tight end, but he plays linebacker as well for Bayside. So they have a strong unit. Will Allen's a senior. He committed to Sanford a few days ago. He has like 14 sacks this season. So those guys have guys. I think that's going to be the toughest game in the whole state because you got a high-scoring offense against a stingy defense who held Mo Winston, who still leads the state in rushing, and he's been sitting down now for 2 weeks, still leads the state. So yeah, man, it's gonna be a tough game, and I cannot wait to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, that's going to be a really intriguing matchup. Southside Selma and Bayside Academy. It's kind of hard to call, and you gave such a great description of the game, Larry. I would say the same. I think it is a matchup where we know how explosive the Southside offense can be. That Bayside Academy, like you said, stopping Mo Winston. I was able to check in on that game quite a bit, and they played as a complete unit. I feel like there's no really weaknesses on that defense. They play as one of those sound defensive units. So we're going to be watching that matchup along with Mars Hill Bible Piedmont. I think this one is so hard to call, so hard to say which teams are going to come out on top. Since Raleigh has joined us tonight, I'm going to go with Piedmont. I'm over Mars Hill Bible. We'll see what comes out of Southside Selma and Bayside Academy. That one is going to be intriguing. I'm most likely going to go Bayside Academy, but I want to see what goes on with Piedmont and Mars Hill Bible. Larry, are you gonna go Mars Piedmont?
Justin, what did you just say? You're going against Mars Hill Bible, man.
Yeah. I'm going with my guy Raleigh. I think they can pull it off simply because I think they're tested. Like we've said, they play Fife. We know who Fife is. Fife and Mars Hill Bible are not very much different in terms of their game plans, in terms of the way that they play football, in terms of their offenses. If I'm not mistaken, Dex, they have very similar playing style. But Mars Hill Bible, like you said, they've been dominant, and Piedmont has a talented team. But I'm gonna get your thoughts on it, Dex. Which way are you leaning in this match?
I don't know, man. It's like I'm just, I know Raleigh, and I know a lot of those kids, but also, Coach Higgins does a great job at Mars Hill, so they're pretty much loaded all the way around. So, and I hate to, go against my guy Raleigh, but I do think Mars Hill has an overall better team. I know they kind of not let me on campus after this pick right here, but just just for the sake of it, just unbiased, I do think Mars Hill will pull it off, but I think Piedmont's gonna get him a fight that they won't forget.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Raleigh. I know Raleigh's still in our background here on this show. You remember that Raleigh? I picked Piedmont Mars Hill Bible in that matchup. But yeah, that's all those matchups are gonna be intriguing. But moving forward in the 4A classification, you guys, this is one of those classifications where both of you guys know a couple of these teams. I know Dex. I think you've seen Anniston probably more than anybody this season. When you take a look at the Anniston matchup, I'm gonna get your thoughts on Anniston.
Man, Anniston got great athletes, man. They finally got everything put together. They got the athletes. They got the offensive line. They got the defensive line. They got the secondary. If I'm not mistaken, they got like 10 kids with offers. So the coaching staff has done a great job. So what people don't realize by Anniston, and I don't know if I should say this or not, but a lot of their coaches aren't like, full-time coaches. A lot of coaches are volunteer type coaches. So, and Coach Jackson came in, and man, he's done a great job with those kids. So I do think, Anniston, as far as athletic wise, they can play with anybody. So the thing is with, going to Plainview, you got the Pruitts, you got Jeremy Pruitt that coached in the SEC, him and his dad, Dale. So I think that's a big help for Plainview. So I think it's going to be, I know it's kind of weird to say this, and I want to come off this way, but it's going to be like Anderson's athlete, how can Plainview, can they come up with a game plan? Because Anderson has so many athletes. Quarterback, Damon Pope is good. Jabari Williams at running back is good. They got Jakari Carr at receiver. So it's going to be tough for Plainview. And we look at another guy was talking that they have a common opponent, Alexandria, which Anderson barely beat Alexandria, but then Plainsview, beat them by 28 points. So you can't always go by that either. So each game is different. So I think I'm gonna go for Anderson in this one in the North. I think they're gonna come out the North and pull it out.
And Larry, you got the pick of the night. The game. I don't think nobody in the state know more about these two teams
Than Larry.
And I kind of like it's part of this one. The playoff is kind of like the narrative right now. Just like Dick said, if he probably won't let him on campus, or Larry, you can make your pick. So see which school won't let you on campus anymore.
Yeah, man. I didn't even try to even go to Jackson practice this week or St. Marcus. I didn't even text neither coach because I know they're gonna be like, Larry, no, I can't do it this week. It's gonna be a great game. You got St. Michael's won this game 49-39 last time. Gunner Rivers 5 touchdowns, 275-yard passes. Noah Moss had 100 yards rushing, but on the flip side, EJ had 336 yards and 3 touchdowns. But Jackson also had 3 turnovers in that game as well. And St. Michael just jumped out 28-7 lead. You know what I'm saying? And Jackson had to crawl back, and they did. It came within 3, but St. Michael scored again and won by 10. So this is going to be a great game. Things are different this time. Jackson is healthy. They had their starting safety, corner, and wide receiver, who is Keon Chapman. He is committed to North Carolina. All 3 of those players were out. So all 3 of those players are back. Jackson hasn't slowed down these first 3 rounds. Those guys are thinking about that matchup. They had this game circled. That they knew if they wanted to go to state for the second year in a row, it was going to come against St. Michael's and Phillip Rivers, and he knows that. I went to practice last week, and he was like, Larry, I won we won our last 25 out of 27 games, and I was like, who are the 2 losses? Jackson. So he knows he got that monkey on his back against Jackson, and he gonna try his best to win. I will be at that game, so I'm excited to see who come out on top, man.
Yeah,
So Larry, you got to give us a prediction. Who you got? I had to give my prediction. You got to give yours.
Oh Lord. Okay. I'm going with Jackson. I think things are gonna be different this time around. It took St. Michael's throwing 5 touchdowns, jumping out to a huge lead, and then it took their defense holding, landing that passing attack back. They couldn't hold EJ. I don't think nobody can, but they held landed down passing. So I think it'll be different. I expect Jackson to beat Jackson in this game and be airing the ball out a little more. So I got Jackson in this game.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm going to go with you guys. A lot of what you said, I think I'm going to lean Anderson. It's based on what I've talked to Dex throughout the football season. He's always talked about Anderson, and one thing he's always talked about, hey, they need to continue to get better. But one thing, why he's always said they continue to get better, they continue to win. So I know they're headed in the right direction. So we'll see how both of those games play out. But we have another guest set to join us on tonight. Perfect timing when it comes to this 4A classification as we wrap up discussing this 4A classification. We have, like I said, those are 2 very, very intriguing matchups when it comes to the 4A classification. When you take a look at Anderson and Plainview, Jackson and St. Michael's. When I take a look at Jackson, I think that's a very intriguing matchup for so many different reasons. And it's kind of like what you said also too, Larry, is that when you look at that matchup, is that these guys are very familiar with each other, so it's gonna have that's a storyline within itself. Not only the coaches being familiar with one another, the players are very, very much familiar with one another as well. So we'll see exactly how that one plays out. And one of those guys who will be in action on Friday, when Jackson takes on St. Michael is Noah Moss. And how's it going tonight, Noah?
Hey, how y'all doing?
All right, how you doing?
Doing really good. I'm going to ask you basically the same question we asked our last guest coming in. Upcoming matchup, very intriguing matchup between you guys in Jackson. In terms of your team, St. Michael Catholic, what do you feel you guys' mindset is heading into this upcoming matchup?
Yeah, I think just as a team, we have the mindset of just find a way. We beat them again, and we're not going to sit here and pretend like they're not a good team. Jackson's a really great team, probably one of the better teams in the state. And we beat them once. We know we can do it. We know we can score 50 points on them if we have to. So I think we just have the mindset to find a way. Whatever we got to do, whatever bells and whistles we got to pull out, however hard we got to play, we're going to find a way to win this game.
Hey Noah, man, I noticed something. The top five leading rushers are no longer in the playoffs, man, and you are
Yeah.
right there with EJ. And either of you guys could have two more games remaining, and you could threaten the state's leading rusher. How does that feel, man? And how much time and dedication have you put into your game?
Yeah, it feels cool just to like realize I've set some goals for myself going into the season and to realize that I've reached them and now I have the chance to go for those number one spots. It's a cool feeling and I mean I hope I get to get it, but either or not, it's something I always remember. Um it's yeah, it's just a special thing to kind of see your hard work pay off, but then it's also just a testament to, my team, my coaches and the sort of program we're trying to build and the legacy we're trying to build at St. Michael.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. As being a running back, EJ's on the opposite side of the ball. So, does that give you extra motivation? Trying to knowing the EJ's over there, or is it just the overall thing that you guys in the playoffs? I mean, give me your perspective on that.
I mean, it's cool. I mean, obviously, everybody he's a great player, and it's cool to be able to play with somebody who's going to go play big time college football like that, to play against him, to compete against him. Um, I mean, that's probably something that's it's a memorable thing, and it's pretty cool. But I'd say mostly it's the playoffs. Trying to win this one last game, we get a state championship, and that'd be a great way to leave high school with the state championship. So I think mainly that's the main mindset. I'm not really worried about any players I might be playing. Regardless of how familiar I am with them, I'm kind of just worried about winning this game so I can get a state championship ring.
And the last thing we wanted to ask you before you leave, Noah, what would it mean for you and your teammates to win this game and make it to the state championship game?
It'd be really special. We've all been playing together for a long time. I think as a team, we've kind of developed this collective, this shared will, if you would say, of like we all want it together. And I think playing together for so long, I want it for myself, but I also want it for my teammates. And I think it would just be something to solidify this already historic season that we've had, and it'd be something we remember, some bond we'd have for a long time. And it's a special way to bring a group of boys together.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you so much, for joining us tonight. Noah, good luck on this weekend. We look forward to seeing you in action against Jackson.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good night.
All right, man.
All right,
All right, brother.
Yeah, like I said, that's going to be, like we talked about, that's going to be a very, very intriguing matchup. And we talked about a lot, I think on this show in particular, we talked a lot about the athletes that Jackson has at their disposal, but like Larry knows and he's really familiar with. And I guess we've become a little bit more informed about Dex when it comes to the St. Michael's team. They have some athletes on their team too. They have some talent around Gunnar Rivers. That's why Gunnar Rivers is as good as he is, because he has a great supporting cast around him. So we'll see what happens in the 4A classification. Looking forward to seeing both of those games. And like we said, I feel like last week there wasn't really any bad matchups. This week for sure there's no bad matchups. There's good on good throughout each classification. But we're gonna move forward here to the 5A classification, looking at Moody and Scottsboro and also Viger Williamson. Larry, I think this whole show is a testament to work that you put in this season, because I feel like I can, every team I pull up, I can throw it to Larry, and Larry knows about everybody on all of these teams. But when you take a look at Moody, Scottsboro, Moody's gonna be tough on defense, but Rock Willis, when you take a look at Jack Gaines, that coach, that whole defensive mind that he has. Viger Williamson, that game is probably going to be probably packed out really, really, probably hard to get out, hard to get into that one, and hard to leave that one. Larry, I think you could take just the whole out scope of 5.
Yeah,
how you see it first.
Well, leave this to you, Larry. You're familiar with all the teams in this. I think at least 3 of them I know for sure. So
yeah. I went to the first one on October 17th. I went to the first game. Viking wins, over 20,000 people there. High expectations as well. Then both teams were undefeated. Both teams have top quarterback stat wise in 5A. Viger with Sammy Dunn, Army quarterback commit, and then Williams with AJ Dinkins. You got defenders everywhere. Jabarius Garrett commit Alabama on Viger, and Williamson has Ellis McGaskin, Notre Dame linebacker commit Jalen Scott, who returned the opening kickoff. He's an Auburn 2027 commit. So guys, that first game, a lot of jitters. Sammy had turnovers. Williams' offense had turnovers. So a lot of turnovers and a lot of jitters and a lot of I would say nerve. Viger was down 7-6 in the first game at halftime, and then they jumped out to a 14-7 lead, guys. They came back and Williamson drove the ball with 2 minutes left, tied it up, and they ended up winning in overtime 22-14. So it goes to show one slip up in this game and the other team can win, guys. So I'm expecting a defensive battle again. A 12-6 game probably. And I'm going with Viger because Viger, it's hard to beat a team twice. Viger had the game won, and they made some questionable calls at the end to the reason why they lost the game. So I'm going with Viger because it's hard to beat a team twice.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything you said, man. I heard that game was a burn burner. So athletes everywhere. I've watched Moody play a couple of times this year. Just going to be honest with you, I don't know a lot about Scottsboro, but I just know what Moody can do. Not taking anything away from the other team, but I have Moody winning that game in the North.
Yeah, that's gonna be an
Yeah.
intriguing matchup. You can go there.
Yeah. Same with Moody. They have Jake Lowry, 5A passer. He's like top 7 if I'm not mistaken. Like Cameron Meadows, he committed to Western Kentucky. He just hit 1,000 yards rushing. Josiah Dozier, South Florida wide receiver commit. He makes a trending play almost every week. And then on the defensive side, Henry Smith, edge rusher committed to Western Kentucky. Cam Mallory, West Virginia nose tackle commit, and then Barack Willis. We all know who he is. He was formerly committed to the Crimson Tide. But those guys are nice, man, on defense. So I'm expecting a Moody by 14, man. No disrespect to Scottsboro, but I think those guys are on a mission. They were in the same predicament last year, and they won. They went to state, and they lost to Kirk Johnson. And he's back in the 4th round again. So that tells you something. So I'm going with Moody.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Kirk, we're gonna move forward to the 6A classification, and I get to flex on my Larry muscle on dates because I actually have seen 3 of these teams in the 6A classification play this season. So I've had an opportunity to see some of these teams. I saw Clay Chalkville, Muscle Shoals, Benjamin Russell 2-time. Haven't seen Sarah Lamb, but that's cool that I've kept up with, and Larry has done a great job of updating everybody. I'm about Sarah Lamb when it comes to Sean Spencer, Jamison Roberts, and even some of their defensive players from the first game of the season when they defeated Jackson to kick off the 2025 high school football season. But we take a look at Clay Chalkville Muscle Shoals. I think this comes down to the game, what type of game it is. If it is a defensive matchup, if Muscle Shoals can make this a matchup where it is a defensive heavyweight type of matchup, I think Muscle Shoals can squeeze this win out. If it becomes any type of offensive scoring matchup, I give Clay Chalkville the edge because Clay Chalkville.
Larry shaking his head. Larry shaking his head.
Yeah, they have the athletes. I would give Clay Chalkville the edge if it comes to putting up points. But if Muscle Shoals can make this a defensive game, Muscle Shoals, I feel like they can squeeze this one out. But we'll see how that one plays out. Benjamin Russell, Saraland is one I probably would lean more towards Saraland just based on the experience. Jeff Kelly, Jamison Roberts has had experience just when KJ Lacey was down last year. I think that experience was valuable. The Jamison Roberts, I think he's built for this moment. Take a look at Benjamin Russell. Coach Johnson has been there. Kingston Pryor has been there, which I think is huge for sure. But most of the guys at Benjamin Russell haven't been there. So the question mark becomes, can Pryor and Johnson motivate these guys and let them know, hey, we're going to lead the way. We're going to show you how this is done. This is how you go win a state championship. You have Sadarian Morgan, a difference maker out wide. So I don't rule Benjamin Russell completely out. They probably can pull off the upset. They got all of the tools needed to pull off the upset. But I guess mentally, are they prepared for a matchup that's going to be a dogfight? But like Benjamin Russell has been tested a lot this season, so I think that gives them an advantage. So I'm gonna let you go first, Dex, and then we're gonna let Larry finish it off when you take a look at the 6A classification.
Well, Saraland is Saraland, so it's hard to go against them, and also it's hard to go against Kirk Johnson because I've known Coach Johnson for even before he was a head coach, so he's always been a guy that's very talented, very driven. He has a love for the game that shows a lot. The kids love playing for him, so I would say just from experience, he has experience at quarterback, like you said, Mitch has experience, but Saraland as a team, coaching staff, I think as an overall, I would give that edge to Saraland based, on the experience. But like you say, it's not impossible for Benjamin Russell to pull this victory out. So out the South, I would say Saraland. And if we go to the North, I'm kind of like Larry. And nothing against Muscle Shoals. They're very talented on defense. Great season, but to me, Clay Chalkville, great on both sides of the ball, back end, defensive line. Of course, you got Corey Barber. So hard to go against him. So if I had to choose someone in the North, I would say it's going to be Clay Chalkville versus Saraland. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, while we wait to get Larry back, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get him back here before we close out this show. But yeah, that's kind of like why, like I said, that's why I lean that way. Like I said, when the Clay Chalkville Muscle Shoals game, I think it becomes that is, can Muscle Shoals stop first off, stop Clay Chalkville? I think that's kind of like but can Muscle Shoals offense muster up something against that talented Clay Chalkville defensive line? Because Muscle Shoals offense has based on what I've seen them play, is that they haven't been an offense that has been consistently really, really productive and explosive. So you already are not that type of offense. Now you're going up against one of the best, we've talked about, possibly one of the best front sevens in the state. It doesn't play in your favor. Just taking a look at the outlook of this matchup, and like again going back to Benjamin Russell, Saraland, I think this becomes the question mark is can. And another thing is, you can speak to this, Dix, before while we wait on Larry. Benjamin Russell, Saraland also becomes a coaching game because I feel like those are two coaches who have state championship experience, so they know how to coach at this particular point in the playoff. Could you talk about what type of role from a coaching perspective could both of those guys play?
It's gonna be like a high stakes chess game. I mean, that's the best way I can say it. Like who can get the best move, who can do the final move. So like you say, Coach Kelly's been there, Coach Johnson's been there. So it's just so hard to say, that last move. Like is it gonna be the final move for the victory? Man, that's just it's like Saban versus. I know it sounds crazy, Kirby versus Saban in so many ways for Alabama high school football because both coaches are proven, both are winners. So it's going to be a chess match. So it may come down to something as small as the field goal, or maybe just how they run a certain play time. It just depends, man. It's so hard to say, but from a coaching perspective, you don't expect either coach to kind of mess this game up because, like I said, they've been there before. They know how to coach. So for me, it's just going to be depends. Who gets the best last play. The best chess move at the end.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. I definitely want to see both of these coaches' game plan. But we'll have Larry back definitely next week for sure. I think he had probably some technical difficulties. But we'll have him back for sure next week. But he did such a great job tonight, knowing all other games on this breakdown. But we'll be back next week for sure. You want to add anything, Dexter?
Oh man, I'm just looking forward to the playoffs, Friday, and see who makes it to the Super 7 in Birmingham, and like I say, hopefully it'll be a lot of good games, and we come back and talk about it next week and see who was right and who was wrong.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's the way that things are set up right now is almost impossible in my mind to have a bad Super 7. It's gonna be a talented teams, a lot of storylines that we're gonna be following. We'll continue to break down those games as they approach. But thank you guys so much for joining us today on TDA Recruiters YouTube channel, breaking down the fourth round of the Alabama High School Athletic Association 2025 playoffs. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, spread the news and share the news. Hey, we are trying to build this TDA recruiting brand under Touchdown Alabama, where there will be a focus on not only recruiting news, but high school football, breaking down games and breaking down athletes, talking to athletes, interviewing athletes. Thank you guys so much for being subscribers. Already a subscriber. If you're not, please hit that subscribe button. We'll be back next week. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight.